Good evening. We'd like to welcome you to the Elmore County Commission work session dated Monday, December 9, 2019. We'll call this meeting to order. First, we'd like to acknowledge some individuals who are here with us today. We have our Superintendent, Richard Dennis, an elected official with us today. We appreciate you being here. And we also have a lot of other guests with us today. We'd like to take a moment to recognize Katrina Mitchell from the Extension Office. She has a group of students with her today who are participants in Youth Leadership Elmore County. So Katrina, if you could, I think what I'd like to do is have each student stand up, tell us their name, and tell us what high school they attend. So we can start over there in the corner. Make sure you speak loud enough so everybody can hear you. All right. Well, thank you very much. We truly appreciate you being here tonight. I know that I recognize many of your faces. I had the opportunity to speak to this group as they were considering participating in the Elmore County Youth Leadership Program, and my son is I guess, graduate. I don't know what you call him, but he participated in this program a few years ago, and it's a tremendous success, and we hope that this evening you'll have the opportunity to learn and witness what we do in county government, and there'll be an intermission in this meeting, and at that time feel free to ask any of the commissioners or any of the other county staff any questions that you may have. We'll be glad to answer those. And thank you for indulging us and telling us who you are and what school you attend. We are glad that we have so many schools in our county represented. And thank you, Katrina, for all your efforts with the program. We'll now proceed with our regular business, a review of the minutes of the November 25, 2019 Commission meeting. Any comments or questions there? All right, hearing none, we'll move forward to the review of the memorandum of warrants for the period of November 20, 2019 through December 3, 2019. Mr. Byer?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, for that period of time, the memorandum of warrants was $1,584,973.05.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions? All right, we'll move forward with our old business. We have an item here, discuss 2 appointments to the Elmore County E911 Board. Appointments are due December 9, 2019. We have the following list of candidates who have completed the necessary paperwork and have expressed interest in serving on this board. Mr. Frank W. Barnett, Jr., Keith B. Barnett. If you'll recall, at our last meeting, Brad Davis had his name removed from this list. Mr. Matthew Higgins, Mr. Robert Prince, and Mr. David Rogers. Again, we have 2 appointments that are due today. Are there any comments, questions regarding any of these individuals from any of our commissioners? Hopefully everyone's had the opportunity to review the form that they have completed as a candidate for this board appointment. All right, if there's no discussion there, we will move forward with our new business. We would like to invite Mr. Scott Pierce from Capel and Howard to come up to the podium regarding a resolution of levy of the sales and use taxes for the benefit of Elmore County Board of Education. Mr. Pierce.
Thank you. I'm Scott Pierce with Capel and Howard, representing the Board of Education. As I'm sure you're aware, the board is proposes to do a bond issue in the next few weeks to refund and refinance some existing debt and also obtain funds for some new projects. As we've done in the past on bond issues for the Board of Education, we are pledging the sales tax, the proceeds of the sales tax that the board receives as security for those bonds throughout the life of the bond issue, which is scheduled. The final maturity would be 2044. Each time we've done a bond issue secured by the sales tax, we've come back to the commission and asked that the commission adopt a resolution, which I've submitted in writing, which affirms the levy of the tax and agrees by essentially contracts to continue to levy the tax throughout the term of the bond issue, so that security is always there. So what it would effectively do is extend the period of confirmed levy from, I think, 2032 to 2044.
Correct. All right.
We answer any questions.
Well, we appreciate you coming and sharing that with us. We've been in discussions with the Board of Education regarding their proposals and with capital improvement plans, both improvements and new construction that the board is considering. And just for clarification, for myself and my fellow commissioners and our guests today, this is not any form of new tax. There's no need to go on social media saying anything like that. This is simply us continuing to pledge the sales tax portion that goes to the Board of Education, so that we can confirm that for the bond issuer, so that they know that those monies will continue to be available for the repayment of bonds.
That's correct. And just for information purposes, it's expected, if this is approved, that the bond issue will close in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Before the end of the year. So.
Great. Any questions or comments from my fellow commissioners?
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Pierce, thank you. All right, we'd now like to invite Mr. Darrell Rutland, General Manager from Advanced Disposal, to come up to the podium. Mr. Rutland is kind enough to be here today to discuss current operations of Advanced Disposal in our county, as well as some changes that are upcoming. Mr. Rutland.
Thank you. My name is Darrell Rutland. I live at 5880 Oak Lane in Millbrook, Alabama. I'm the general manager for Alexander City, Tallahassee, Montgomery, Linden, and Mobile, Alabama. At each of these sites, I have a site manager and an operations team that carry out our contracts. Jamie Neighbors has accompanied me today. Jamie is our operations manager for Alexander City, Tallahassee, and Montgomery, Alabama. And Jamie has supervisors of all of our routes in this area that report to her. In this area, Elmore County specifically, let's just focus on Elmore, we run 7 automated routes. This contract has been growing. I believe 2002 was our first year in this contract. We're now around 14,700 homes out there. They're billed quarterly, on a quarterly basis. And we run 7 automated routes every day servicing those homes. We also run 2 full-time cart delivery, cart repossession, cart repair routes on that. And we do roughly well over 500 repairs, swaps, swap carts out, and deliver new carts every month, just on the cart aspect of it. So every month, you know, we have people that don't pay their bill to. That's roughly about $1,000 a month. They'll get put on stop service, and then some, you know, resume service. Most resume service. They just, you know, forgot about it or whatever, and some don't. And we average about, you know, 250 repossessions per month. And some of those are people that are moving, that didn't cancel or anything like that, and then we end up having to go get the cart and do things. We try to get people and try to explain to them to always let us know if they're moving or whatever is going to happen. Now, through the time that we've had this contract with Elmore County, of course, we've had to add routes. And we need to add another route, and we've been talking about adding a route. Richie has really been honest about adding a route. We agree with Richie that we need to add a route, and we had begun work on it, and we are going to add the route. We're not as far along with it as we should have been. I'm going to have to refocus my operations team on getting that done as soon as possible. Running county routes is different than running city routes, you know, because of the density in the homes. But we do plan on adding a route. And we are always hiring drivers. I mean, we've got enough drivers now, but we can grow even faster in our commercial and roll-off lines if I have more drivers. And those are the three lines of business that we run: front load, roll-off, and commercial. We run rear loader on some contracts, some automated. You know, I don't think we want to get into the discussion of the pros and cons of each, but suffice it to say I'm for automated. Now, I know there's some talk about Waste Management, the largest garbage company in America. And in April, they did announce that they were buying Advanced Disposal. And they even put it out there at $33.15 a share. We are a public company, as they are, and our board of directors and their board of directors have agreed on this. And since late April, since that announcement, that has been in the Department of Justice hands. Now, the Department of Justice has not approved it, so it's still not approved. The timeline is still the first quarter of 2020 is when they expect to get it done. You know, you hear rumors about things, but I can only give you the facts, is that it is in the Department of Justice hands. They have to determine in all areas that there's not a monopoly in any particular area with the combining of the two companies. And I know they're looking at this area, and they're looking at it pretty good. So they'll make that determination and let us know, and as soon as we know, I can let y'all know more about it. Any questions?
Well, thank you. We appreciate you being here today, as you and I appreciate you referencing some of the statistics regarding the services that you provide with the number of routes and the number of homes that you service on a monthly basis or weekly basis in terms of the homes, and then the addition of a route. That's something that's a high priority for us, as you know, and we've shared that with you primarily because, as you the service that is provided in Elmore County is one that we oftentimes field questions about or concerns from our citizens when they do not have trash picked up, or their trash can was knocked over, or and I'm sure you get all of the same phone calls. The frustrating thing for us is when we get a phone call but it's not something that we can control. So then it turns back of us trying to communicate with your staff about what got missed, why was it missed, when will it be picked up, etc. And so we want to continue to have an open dialogue with you and be able to communicate our concerns. We are a growing county. We recognize that, and we hope to continue to grow as a county in the right way. And the service you provide is essential to a growing community. So we want to have and maintain a positive relationship so that we can grow together and provide that service. So when you mention adding an additional route, is that something you anticipate in the next 3 to 6 months? Is
yes.
that okay? Yes. Well, and that route, the primary reason for that new route would simply be to lessen the burden on the other 7 so that you can divide it up better and
Correct.
and not run into the end of the day and missing
Right.
some roads.
And, yeah, and the growth patterns too that have happened through the county too, there'll be a little bit of a reroute
Okay.
too, because it doesn't just grow.
Right.
It's certain areas are gonna have to get
Right, there's a population
Yeah.
shift that occurs in the county and throughout the river region, so. Well, I appreciate you mentioning that, and we definitely look forward to that happening, and if there are things that we can do as county commissioners, with regards to communication of the issues that we're having, please have your staff ensure that we know the proper protocol. We've created a website or an email address that people can go to on our county website if they're having issues, so that we can have a means by which they can communicate with us, and then we can share those things with you. We will definitely share the fact that you're always looking for drivers. As long as you don't take our drivers, then we'll be fine. Any of my fellow commissioners have any comments or questions? And then following that, we'll talk about the memorandum of understanding for the transition of the other project.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, thank you, Mr. Rutland, thank you, Ms. Neighbors, for being here. As the chairman mentioned, probably the number one complaint, if you will, that I receive in my district is that the residents have a certain pickup day, and when they aren't picked up on that day, it's usually the next day or the second day, and that's probably 99% of the phone calls that I get. A lot of these are senior citizens who have a very long driveway, and they expect that pickup on that day that's assigned to them, and rightly so. My question is, and usually a lot of times the response is that we had a driver out today, and we understand that. My question is, are there any contingency plans for that in the future when a driver is out and he's assigned to a certain route for somebody else to handle that, or is that going to be a continual issue in the future for drivers out?
I think it will happen, Commissioner. It just depends on where it happens too, because like when you run more dense routes around each other, particularly with us adding another route, there's more potential for the second, third, or fourth driver to be able to go over and relieve that driver. But in a county the size of Elmore too, it's not all my drivers do not know all the routes. So if we tell them a particular street or road and they're used to working up in Deepsville and they don't know how to react over by, say, Tallahassee or something like that, it's just not, it's not as easy on them. It takes, when you hire a driver in our business, he needs to know 2 or 3 routes. Even though he may be assigned the Wetumpka route, he knows 2 or 3 other routes. It's just that when we do have a driver go down, like his truck breaks down, or he had to go to the doctor at 2 o'clock and we're trying to get his route up with other drivers, we do fail in that sometimes.
But you
So
anticipate,
a lot of that is on us as managers.
with the adding of this new route, that should give some relief in that regard?
Yes, it'll be some relief. It'll be some relief, but it still falls right back on us managing the process from the management and dispatch perspective.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I understand that you were saying that Waste Management was the largest waste disposal company, and they was
Yes.
buying Advance,
Correct.
and it's in the Department of Justice.
Yes, sir.
So they're looking at it to make sure they don't have a monopoly on it, where I guess what I'm saying is there any other waste disposal company, if they buy out Advance, that's doing the same thing?
Really what they're looking at, Commissioner, is there are other waste disposal companies that run in this area.
Mm-hmm.
But the Department of Justice is most concerned with landfill and where all the tons go.
Okay.
So commercially or even residentially, every ton of garbage that's in Elmore County or Montgomery County or Dallas County, I could tell you, is, going to either advanced disposal or waste management. And that
Okay.
includes Tallapoosa and Lee and some others.
So that won't change our contract with you?
No, sir, your
Okay.
contract is with the Alabama River Region
Yeah.
Authority, and, they are your contractor, we are their service provider.
Okay.
Mr. Rutler, we've been hearing about the plan to fix the problem of service we've had in the county for a number of months. I'm encouraged to hear that maybe you're gonna, put a little faster timeline on that. I understand you have someone you work for a large company, but I encourage you to express to your supervisors, your boss, that this is a real problem to us. We have people we have to answer to as well. And I can assure you, when trash doesn't get picked up on Tuesday in my district or Wednesday, I am getting a phone call, and I've got to address it. One thing that I have had a hard time understanding is when we're told that the follow-up day we're going to get out there and pick up trash, the next day when it's skipped. Some days that happens, and some days it doesn't. The issue that I've had is I have taken the information that you've told me on your corrective measures and communicated that, and then when it doesn't happen, that blows back on me again. And I know other commissioners have experienced the same thing, so I would encourage you, if you could, if we do ask a question about, what's the corrective measure for this week, if it's going to be 2 days, just tell us 2 days. Just tell us what it is. I understand with the situation you're in. Excuse me, I've been choked up for the last 4 days. I understand what the situation you're in. I have a background in construction. There's not a lot of difference in picking up and hauling asphalt or dirt as it is trash. A little bit. I understand there's a lot more pickups involved. But I understand trucks break down. I understand truck drivers completely. I've always had to do what I've had to do to get that customer served. So I would encourage you to communicate to your supervisors that, let's really try to be aggressive and make some changes so we can increase the level of service in the county, because it really is a problem to us. I would say phone calls about the lack of broadband in the county and trash are absolutely the top two complaints that we get, and we're looking to you to do that, and we know you're probably in a hard place, and we understand that. We just know we are as well. We appreciate y'all coming tonight.
Okay, I think we'll transition now to briefly talk about the memorandum of understanding with Advanced Disposal. We have service that is provided by Advanced Disposal on a monthly basis in various locations throughout the county, where our citizens are able to bring larger debris or household trash that maybe isn't something that they would normally put in their trash can to be picked up, and that service has been going on for several years. We've had some challenges with that, and questions from citizens regarding, it's only 1 day a month. What if I'm out of town that day? What if I'm not available to do it on that? What if it rains that day? What if I get there and the roll-off is full and they turn me away because everybody decided to take their stuff on the same day? So those are all challenges that we've had numerous discussions about, and so we're considering this memorandum of understanding to transition that program to a new operation that will better serve our citizens and provide them with a 24/7 opportunity. So if they want to bring their trash at 2 a.m. on Tuesday, then they'll have the opportunity to do that. So I'm going to let Mr. Byer talk briefly about where and how that's going to take place and what the transition will be.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the MOU with Advance and the MOU with the City of Wetumpka for a collections facility are tied together. We've been working with the City of Wetumpka and with Advance to develop a plan to move away from our countywide cleanup days and provide that option, Mr. Chairman, as you said, that would be a throughout the month option for residents to dispose of things that are in character with what we typically accept at countywide cleanup day, but not limited to that one Saturday a month. We have not, got all the details worked out in terms of the operating hours and all. I believe that trying to keep it open as much as possible is, 24/7 is the goal, but we're still working those details out with, the actual, site and with the city of Wetumpka. What this would do, though, is this would provide, over time, it would provide advance some relief from running the countywide cleanup days and running into issues with their drivers and having to meet thresholds with DOT restrictions on those drivers during they don't provide that service only for us, they provide it for other counties. And so the actual MOU would allow us to take these roll-offs in the future to advance the site in lieu of them having to operate that service. So that's the trade-off for us to have in place. The MOU allows for up to 3 of these sites in the future, with the initial goal to have the one site in Wetumpka up and running to be centralized and evaluate the performance of that before we move on to other sites in the county. So the city of Wetumpka part, if I'll go ahead and finish that thought, the city of Wetumpka has agreed in principle to allow us to utilize some property on Red Eagle Drive, which is between the county highway department and the city public works facility. It's also on a pretty good stretch of road that the public travels, going to the YMCA and out to the firefighter training facility. So it's a highly public site that we can utilize. The property really doesn't have much use for anything else, so this would be an ideal collection facility to get us up and running. So, Mr. Chairman, do y'all have any questions of me in terms of the details of the MOU?
Mr. Byer and Mr. Rutland, I appreciate everyone's work on this and the discussions that we've had leading up to this as we try to resolve an issue that also is a product of the decision to remove all of the recycling bins, trash locations that were scattered throughout the county when the Department of Corrections determined that they were no longer going to service the recycling bins, which we had over 40 recycling bins throughout the county. Those have all been removed over the last probably 8 weeks or so, and without that service offered, there are limited locations where people can bring recycling, along with having just one day a month to bring their other household trash that would be something that they would take on that trash pickup day on those designated Saturdays. So this will allow an opportunity to both citizens can bring a pickup truck with recycling items and other items that they would like to dispose of, and there will be roll-off bins there where if you choose to recycle, there will be an option to recycle there, and then there will be an option for your other trash, old chairs and other things that you wouldn't normally put in your daily or your weekly pickup. So I think this is a great improvement. We appreciate the opportunity to partner with the city of Wetumpka first on this, but as Mr. Byer mentioned, this agreement has up to 3 locations. So we will be evaluating other parts of the county geographically so that we can identify 2 other locations once we work through the kinks on this first one, and then it will be there'll be hopefully 3 in the county that will be geographically beneficial for all of the citizens to dispose of those things. So any questions or comments from commissioners?
Chairman, I believe this is going to work very well for many citizens, because I know sometimes it's probably hard to get 5 trucks on once a Saturday to 5 different locations across the county. 6, that's right, 6. So maybe it'll take the stress off of your operation. But when the countywide cleanup day started, I know it was a great idea. It gave citizens an alternative to take those items that they couldn't fit in their curbside roll-off container. But I know the sites in my district, and I know they're probably consistent throughout the county. You know, you get there at 8 o'clock and there's already a line of 30 people sometimes, and the truck just fills up. I mean, it's a product of growth. It's a product of maybe a culture change where people will stop dumping stuff just wherever there's an empty field. And so I think this is a good change where someone can take their stuff anywhere, anytime they want to, and dispose of it. So we appreciate y'all working with us on this and to make this change.
Sure.
Anything else? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Rutland. We appreciate it. All right, so that covers also our discussion of the Memorandum of Understanding with Advanced Disposal. The next item, consider Memorandum of Understanding with the City of Wetumpka for the collection facility. We also referenced that in our partnership with the City of Wetumpka for the specific location on Red Eagle Drive, adjacent to the Public Works and Highway Department on the way, on the road leading up to the Wetumpka YMCA. Next, we have a guest with us today. We failed to have this on the original agenda, but we would like to invite Mr. Dustin Devon to come up to the podium for an education facility for student athletes. Mr. Devon, we've got, I think all the commissioners have this packet of information. We've got probably about 5 minutes. I know you've got a lot of information, about 5-minute presentation. We'll ask any questions that we may have, and then hopefully we'll have other opportunities in the future maybe to meet individually to discuss some of this. So.
Absolutely. So first off, I want to thank you guys for your dedication to our community, the things that you guys do, and being able to operate our county on a day-to-day basis. Each one of you are well-deserving to be sitting where you're at, and we're greatly appreciative of that. Secondly, I want to introduce you to my 3 boys. Far right, we have Hayden, Landon, and Austin. They're all athletes and all Elmore County boys. So to start tonight, it all goes back to a story. My wife and I were living in Duluth, Georgia, and this is the one time I knew that I needed to be in Slapout, Alabama the rest of my life. Hayden was approached by a teacher at a public school in Duluth, Georgia about his religious affiliation, being a Christian. And needless to say, my wife went and almost turned the school upside down when this happened, and it didn't turn out real well. What that led us to do is 3 days later we pulled our kids out of school and we started homeschooling. It's been one of the best decisions we ever made in our life. But with homeschooling comes many challenges. It's obvious homeschooling's growing. Virtual learning's growing. I know Mr. Dennis and them have done a great job of implementing a public virtual learning program as well in Elmore County. And they've done a great job with that. We also know there's some challenges with that. You know, parents look at it and they're nervous. They don't really know where to do, who to turn to, or what to do, and about becoming a teacher of record. Or there's just so many things that go along with it. And I think the homeschooling industry as a whole, no one's really stepped up to do a good job in educating proper homeschool. They have accreditation to fight. Understanding transcripts. These are hard for an average parent to be able to understand. But virtual learning is obviously the future. I don't think we're quite there yet to be completely ready for virtual learning. And what you'll see in our platform is what we have titled blended learning, which is a mixture of teachers and also virtual learning to be the predominant part and the leader of our education. But to have that backbone and have that structure from an education taught by a certified Alabama teacher. And so we'll get to the structure of what we call the student web as we go through. But, you know, really why homeschool? There's many curriculums out there. There's curriculums that are based around faith. There are curriculums based around the student athlete. And so for today, I'm going to base the presentation that I'm doing, I'm going to base today on the NCAA approved curriculum that we've been working on for the last couple of months. And so when you look at homeschool academic performance against standardized public education, you see a massive disparity in numbers when it comes to ACT score, SAT score, and things like that. In the homeschool arena, you'll see an average ACT score of 3.2 points higher, and that's according to the National Homeschool Institute that does the predominant part of the research. You'll see it higher. Now, for what reason is that? We don't think it has anything to do with teaching. We think it has everything to do with the student being able to immediately find their problem in the virtual learning experience. So when you get a problem wrong in good virtual learning programs, it immediately tells you you're wrong, and it takes you through the process of understanding that immediately. You don't get that individualized attention in the classroom, and honestly, we could not expect that of our teachers. It would not be feasible for them to be able to tackle that. And so with this growth of homeschool and all the problems that come along with it, I think it's incredible that the opportunity has presented itself to myself to work on the last couple of months, a virtual learning platform in our blended model that's going to combine the power of the teacher, the power of a good school, and also the power of using technology in today's world, bring it all together under one roof to be able to provide a good education platform for Elmore County. And so you guys can review that document a little further, talking about the homeschool statistics. I really don't want to use part of my 5 minutes into that, but I do want to read you guys my mission statement. So when I started launching my mission statement, this was probably the hardest thing that I did. Accreditation, that process has been extremely tough. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But the hardest thing that I've done thus far is a mission statement. So here's what I came up with. USA Academy, the USA stands for Ultimate Student Athletes. It is Ultimate Student Athletes' mission to seek an exceptionally promising student athlete, mission to seek exceptionally promising student athletes of all backgrounds from across the nation and around the world, and to educate them through mental discipline, physical discipline, and athletic experience. Our aim is to cultivate their creative, intellectual, moral, civic, and athletic capacities to beyond their own understandable limits, while putting them on the national stage to excel in their high school athletic experiences while preparing them for the next stages of life in whatever God has planned. So we've brought together this blended learning experience and trademark it and paraphrase it to do what we call the optimal learning scope. So our counselors will be specifically trained to come in with a student and a parent and to create a success plan for that student, both in their academic life and in their athletic life. That's the first step in becoming a part of the USA family. Now, we see the tremendous amount of growth. We just heard about it a few minutes ago with the education expansion, the need for new facilities. We're getting the overflow of a failed education system just outside of our own county. That's starting to come into our county, which is presenting great opportunity, however, presenting also challenges. There's challenges for Elmore County. It's no secret. Mr. Dennis and I talked about this just a few years ago, about the funding situation that Elmore County is in comparison to other school systems. 136 school systems in the state, if I remember correctly, and we're ranked 135th on a per-student basis. That information and source is also inside this packet. And there's only so much U5 can do. There's only so far that our tax revenue can go in this county. And you guys have done a phenomenal job of being able to stretch that and bring even the new tax that we have on internet spending. That's incredible that that's going to education. I want to applaud you guys for that. I think it's great because Mr. Dennis needs all the resources he can get. So does Mr. Hull. And so bringing something like this to Elmore County, and really how does it impact Elmore County? Well, the first thing is jobs. You can't have too many jobs in a local area. And we think that putting these kids on a national stage is going to attract people from all over the country to be able to come in, look at this as a home, because there's no better place in the country to live than Elmore County. The second thing is tourism. When I get to the case study here in just a few minutes, talking about the comparable education platform that we're modeling ourselves after, you'll notice that that school has brought in over $200 billion in revenue just to their local city in the last 10 years. So they built it from the ground up and done it the right way. The third thing is business growth. I think the business growth around the Casada area, which is where we're targeting to put this, the business growth will be tremendous. There's some incredible places in Casada and some great rooms for expansion there as well. And so in this packet, you'll a little bit more about the blended learning experience. Now, the biggest frustration I had as a homeschool parent, after 8 years of being a homeschool parent, the biggest frustration that I ran into was sports. That was difficult to deal with. This past year, we were able to participate in a homeschool sports program, and I'm very thankful that we did that because it lit a passion inside of my boys again that they really missed and had walked away from. And I'm forever grateful for what that did. But what I noticed is in the recruiting process of looking at colleges, none of the colleges will look at a homeschool athlete and take them seriously because they're not performing on the same stages and under the same circumstances as these other student athletes. There's a massive market for homeschoolers and solid student athletes from the homeschool space. There's a big market to be had. And I think that we've provided the right combination to bring that together and put the sports programs for these homeschooled athletes and virtual learning experience together.
Mr. Devon, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to see if any of my commissioners have any comments or questions regarding the things you've addressed up to this point.
5 minutes already?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
But we may have some questions or comments, and then what we'll do is
review the packet.
We have an opportunity to review this packet. I've been kind of flipping through it and reviewing some of the data and information and then we could possibly look at a future date in the near future that you could come back.
Sure.
And if we have any questions after we look at this stuff. Any commissioners have any comments or questions? First, I commend you for putting all this together. I think it's, you know, you've done a great job of providing a lot of interesting statistics and data, and obviously you've spent a lot of time doing this, so we appreciate that. Any comments or questions?
Thank you.
I appreciate you bringing another opportunity. Of course, our Board of Education does a great job in the county. We have some
agree.
great public school, private schools, but, you know, this is another opportunity for our students, and I applaud you for your efforts.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And do you have a digital copy of this?
I do. I can email it to you.
Okay, that'd be great, because I see there's some hyperlinks for some different resources and
yeah.
things like that. If
Sure.
you could send that, that'd be good.
Absolutely. Thank you all for your time.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we'll proceed now. Consider accepting 2020 Census Grant Award from the Alabama Department of Economic and Community Affairs, ADECA, including budget amendments, and authorize chairman and/or CEOO to execute agreement and necessary documents. Any comments or questions there? This is a grant for our promotion and advertising of the 2020 census that's coming up. We have partnered with several municipalities and Autauga County on this particular grant application. This is funds that Governor Ivey has allocated towards to be distributed throughout the state towards the promotion of the Census 2020. We've talked about that in our county commission meetings before, the importance of the census and how it affects each and every one of us. It affects our schools tremendously and the funding that they receive. It affects our funding for roads and bridges and all of the other things that accompany state and federal funding. So we're delighted that we received that grant. Next item, discuss authorizing chairman and CEOO to execute necessary documents with Guardian to administer employee vision and life insurance benefits. Mr. Byer, if you'll address that change.
Mr. Chairman, this is, there will be no change to the employees, and they'll see the same benefits on the life and vision. What this will do will have a slight savings to the county on the life insurance end, and then it changes the administrator from Sun Life to Guardian. So basically it provides our employees the same or better benefits at a lower cost.
All right, thank you. The next item, consider 5 reappointments to the Elmore County Industrial Development Authority Board. Candidates listed are Sharon Alexander, Art Faulkner, Harris Garner, Rhett Smith, and John Strickland. These individuals have served on the Elmore County Industrial Development Authority Board for the past several years, and have done an excellent job. They've all expressed an interest in continuing in that service. Any comments or questions there?
Chairman, this appointment that we're considering here is a little different than other appointments we have to come before us. The IDA, when it was established, the bylaws state that the members of the IDA come from those board members of the Elmore County Economic Development Authority. And if you'll see in your packet, we have a email from board chair of the ACETA stating that it was a unanimous vote by their board to ask that we reappoint these IDA members.
Thank you. The next item, consider 1 appointment to the Elmore County Healthcare Authority Board, appointment due 1/13/2020. We have 2 names listed here who've completed the necessary forms, Jason Britt and Dr. Rocky Lyons. We also have in your packet, we received another appointment candidate request form in the last several days for Miss Linda Lewis. So we have those 3 names to consider between now and January the 13th, which will be our first commission meeting of the new calendar year. Are there any additional names to be considered from any commissioners? All right, we'll proceed to discuss fiscal year 2019 Homeland Security Cooperative Grant Agreements, including budget amendments and authorizing the chairman to execute. Mr. Byer.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, in your packet you've got a detail of the 4 entities that will get these pass-through grants. Two of them are with the county through the EMA and through the Sheriff's Department. One of them is with the Eclectic Fire Department. The other is with the Tallahassee Fire Department. The total grant award is $165,457. I can give you the breakdown if you would like. I think maybe Commissioner Daughtry wants to talk a little bit about the breakdown in his community there.
Commissioner Daughtry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In way of explanation, those four entities, Elmore County Commission will receive $49,653, and that'll be for our EMA. The Elmore County Sheriff's Office will receive $28,312. That'll be specifically for communication equipment for the dive team, which will greatly enhance the recovery efforts when they're called out. The Electric Fire Department will receive $47,075, and that's for SCBA breathing apparatus for the firemen. And I see Steve Dennis sitting over there with over 40 years of service in the fire service. That $47,000 sounds like a lot of money for breathing apparatus, but that will not buy too many, right, Steve? They've gone up in price so much, but we're thankful for that. The Tallahassee Fire Department will receive $40,417, and that is for specifically for hazmat and the dam related facility over there that's near Tallahassee, and that'll be for training, preparation, and equipment in the event of an issue with the dam in the area of the hazmat. So, as Mr. Byer said, a total of $165,457, and we're extremely grateful for that for these public safety departments, and we applaud our EMA director and Mr. Byer and all the staff that was involved, everybody that was involved in procuring these grants. And hopefully there'll be more forthcoming for Elmore County.
Thank you. All right, we'll proceed now with personnel notifications. Notification of resignation of Daryl Eldridge, Engineer Tech, effective 12/5/19. Notification of resignation of Lisa Henderson, Dispatcher Tier 1, effective 11/25/19. Notification of hire of Holly Bruns, Dispatcher Tier 1, replace L. Henderson, effective 12/9/19. Notification of hire of Nathan Mayberry, IT Specialist, fill vacant position, effective 12/9/19. Notification of resignation of Mark Jarrett, Corrections Officer, effective 12/3/19. We'll proceed now with reports to the Commission. Mr. Byer.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I have two items for you this evening. In front of you should have one that's titled Clean Up Elmore County Initiative. The two MOUs that were discussed earlier are a component of that initiative. And the discussion of making the opportunities for countywide cleanup days a more accessible opportunity for the public is just one component of that initiative. The Chairman mentioned the recycling opportunities that are being incorporated into this collection facility, but there will also be over the next several months some additional launching of a campaign on anti-litter. There will also be some additional partnering with our local judges to help assign community service hours to help with cleaning up our roadsides and illegal dumping. And we've also put a tool on the County Commission's website that takes that trash at elmoreco.org and not only takes individuals' complaints about trash pickup, but can take litter and dumping and allow the citizens to be able to post pictures of the dumping and any names or identifying information that is found in those dumps. So we may share that with law enforcement quicker and allow for our public works to get those sites cleaned up. We also are looking at some expansion of the Operation Spring Clean event that we started a few years ago. And that also includes working with PALS on increased exposure of the Adopt a Mile and Adopt a Stream program. So these are all items that many of you have come to us over the last several months and talked about wanting to see re-emphasized or put in place to try to deal with the issue of people, really trashing up the county and making the natural resources we have somewhat unattractive. So I'm going to have this for Mr. Daniel with the press, and as we start rolling some of these items out and we get more details on the specifics of the collection facility, we'll be releasing those not only through the media, but also on our social media sites. The other item I have in front of you, I know Commissioner Mercer and Commissioner Stubbs, Chairman Stubbs, were at the ACCA Legislative Conference. I have put before you the ACCA's Unresolved Inmate Crisis Report. I believe they're going to cover that in their report, but I want to make sure you knew where that came from, and when they refer to that report, that you are armed with that information and have copies in front of you. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have in the way of report. Do y'all have any questions or comments for me?
Thank you. Now we'll proceed with reports from the Commission. We'll begin with Commissioner Holt.
It's really great to see this large crowd again. And we normally don't have this many. We're thankful that y'all are here. And one thing I'd like to comment on, Mr. Chairman, is education is extremely important. Extremely. That's one of the reasons that I think that we're growing like this. So our educational opportunities, anybody that contributes to that, I'm for. Thank y'all a lot.
Thank you. Commissioner Daughtry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'd particularly like to thank Ms. Katrina Schultz. She comes on a regular basis and always bringing young leaders of the future, from the 4-H to you name it. We have wonderful youth organizations in Elmore County. We thank you for all you do, and we thank you for all these young leaders. And Mr. Byer, I hope during the break we can get a photo with all these young leaders up here. I'd like for us to particularly remember the family of the slain Huntsville police officer this evening, Officer Clardy, and the Huntsville Police Department. You know, and continue to remember Lowndes County Sheriff Big John Williams' family. This is becoming a regular thing and real close to homes in the law enforcement community. So let's please remember these families. Last week I attended the Governor's First Responder Wireless Commission, or state commission on which I sit, and the purpose of that commission is to provide the best communication possible for all the first responders across the state. And there are numerous entities that serve on it. I represent the Association of County Commissioners, but I'm pleased to report that progress is being made in this ever-changing technological world, and money's being well spent to reach that goal of all the entities to be able to communicate with each other across this state, whether it's fire department, police departments, or whatever. And I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Mercer.
Thank you, Chairman. I do apologize for my voice. We'll try to make it through this without my throat completely giving up. So, first thing I'd like to report on is this current fiscal year, the County Commission made available to our Elmore County volunteer firefighters here in the county, of course, a grant writer through our EMA and working through our Elmore County Firefighter Association, in an effort to help them capture any federal dollars, state dollars that they can to help them improve the service to their citizens. We're in the process now of them compiling information for the first grant that's going to be submitted. It's going to be a regional grant, whereas all departments in the county can participate. Regional grants will score higher in the scoring process, and also there's a lower matching grant fund requirement for each department if the grant's awarded. The grant will be for SCBAs, which are air packs. As Commissioner Daughtry mentioned a minute ago, that's a very expensive component of the total equipment that they wear when they respond to a fire. So we are very proud to be able to help them with that effort. As Mr. Byer mentioned a little while ago, that we attended the ACCA, the Association of County Commissions of Alabama's legislative conference this past week. There were many things discussed, but about 4 things that would probably continuously discussed, and we know will come up in the next legislative session. One of them is sentencing reform. 2015, there was a package of sentencing reforms that were passed in an effort to, in part, deal with overcrowding in the state prisons. That has worked on the state prison level, but it's pushed inmates down to the county level, and it's increased the population of our county inmate population substantially. It's costing counties across the state on an annual basis. It's increased their expenses to run the jails, millions of dollars. That's something that needs to be addressed, and it will in this next session. The next item that was discussed is going to be a large item. It's going to be prison construction. Since January of 2016, actually when Governor Bentley first announced his effort to address this issue, it's discussed every year at the legislature. So far, it has not been resolved. As we all know, the state is currently under in a federal lawsuit, specifically concerning the prison conditions of the inmates live in and mental health access they have within the facilities. This is something that is of great importance to Elmore County. We have 5 facilities in our county. We've made every effort we possibly can to retain one of these large facilities, because as it has been published, the plan would be to build 3 new facilities and consolidate inmates into primarily these three facilities. Another item is mental health access, not just in the large cities, but specifically in the rural areas. Years ago, funding for mental health access was decreased. That is showing up in very adverse ways in our general population of our society, and also in our jails. A lot of times our law enforcement, probate judge, they have nowhere to send people that have a mental issue, and they wind up sitting in our jails. That's unfair. The last time that was discussed, and Commissioner Stubbs was a part of this conversation in a large room with our commissioners, is the SSUT tax, specifically the fact that this commission has dedicated 25% of their SSU tax increase for this fiscal year to our Board of Education. In fact, we presented the last check to the Board of Education at the last month or last 2 weeks commission meeting. We found that that is something that I believe, Commissioner Stubbs, I believe you'd agree that all the other commissioners in the room, and the room was full, I think we're probably going to be found to be the only one in the state that is contributing some of that tax dollars to the Board of Education. We were asked about it. Commissioner Stubbs responded in relation to what we were doing in Elmore County, and he got a lot of questions about how we did what we were doing and why we were doing what we were doing with our tax. So that's something that we're real proud of. That will come up again in the legislature to discuss the allocation of those dollars. That fund has grown substantially since it was first created just a number of years ago. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Reeves?
Just want to thank everyone for coming in this afternoon, and I especially want to thank you for the information that you bring to us to help us make this county better. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate my fellow commissioners and their comments and all of their diligent work as commissioners in this county. They all do a great job of representing their districts and the entire county as a whole. A few items I'd like to briefly address. First, regarding the legislative conference, I appreciate the opportunity to go and participate in that. We did have numerous questions about how we were handling the simplified seller use tax, or the internet tax that was put into law several years ago, and we are reaping the benefits of that. We had the opportunity to an impromptu presentation to the other commissioners regarding the actions that we have taken as a county commission to provide some of those funds to the Elmore County Board of Education. I would anticipate that will continue to come up among other commissions throughout the state. I had numerous people hand me their business cards and ask me to email them the memorandum of understanding that we entered into with the Board of Education in an effort to duplicate what we have done. I would like to mention that coming up this Saturday is Christmas on the Coosa, which will be held here in downtown Wetumpka. It's a great celebration, and we hope that everyone will have the opportunity to participate in that. There have been numerous activities that have taken place here in downtown Wetumpka in my district with respect to the holidays, and along with all of the construction as well. It's coming to a close hopefully in the next 6 or 8 weeks, but we're excited to see all of the progress. I also hope that I'm on a lot of Instagram stories right now. I see a lot of heads down over there, so I'm hoping that we're showing up on Twitter and Instagram and maybe a Facebook for all the old parents out there. But Instagram stories are the new thing. I'm sure we're on them right now. So hopefully you're learning something from this experience. And we're going to turn the time over to Kimberly for important calendar dates. And following that, we'd like our youth leadership participants to come forward. We'll get a group picture together, and then we will reconvene after that for our business section. So, Kimberly?
This Thursday, December 12th, will be the employee Christmas breakfast at 8 a.m. This coming Saturday is December 14th from 9 to 1 is the next countywide cleanup, noting the rotating location is the Cusada Post Office. The administrative complex will be closed for Christmas, December 24th and December 25th, and then the following week, the administrative complex will be closed in observance of New Year's on Tuesday, December 31st and Wednesday, January 1st. Saturday, January 11th will be the January countywide cleanup, noting the rotating location is the town of Elmore Annex. And our next commission meeting is not until January 13th at 5 o'clock with the work session and the business meeting following.
All right. Thank you. We'll reconvene shortly. Good evening. We'd like to call this Elmore County Commission business meeting to order, dated Monday, December 9, 2019. We'll begin with an invocation offered by Commissioner Mercer, following which I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for bringing us here today, Lord. We thank you for loving us. And Father, we just say a special thanks for this time of the year that we're celebrating the birth of your Son. Father, we thank you for all your many blessings, and give us guidance as we do your business here, have it for our fellow citizens. Amen.
Amen. You'll stand, please. Ms. Kim, would you call roll?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry, Chairman Stubbs,
Here.
Commissioner Mercer,
Here.
Commissioner Reeves.
All right, we'll proceed with our regular business. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the November 25, 2019 Commission meeting as presented during the work session?
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry,
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Is there a motion to approve the memorandum of warrants for the period of November 20, 2019 through December 3, 2019?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry,
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
All right, we'll now proceed with our old business. Is there a motion to approve an individual to the Elmore County E911 Board?
I make a motion to nominate Chief Matthew Higgins.
Is there a second? Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry,
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
All right, is there a motion to approve a second individual to the Elmore County E911 Board?
I nominate Robert Prince.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry,
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
We'll proceed now with new business. Is there a motion to approve the resolution regarding levy of sales and use taxes for the benefit of the Elmore County Board of Education?
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry,
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Is there a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with Advanced Disposal and the River Region Solid Waste Authority authorizing chairman and or CEOO to execute?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry,
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Is there a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the City of Wetumpka for a collection facility and authorize the chairman and or CEOO to execute?
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry,
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve accepting the 2020 Census Grant Award from the Alabama Department of Economic and Community Affairs, ADECA, including budget amendments, and authorize the chairman and or CEOO to execute agreement and necessary documents?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry,
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve authorizing chairman and/or CEO to execute necessary documents with Guardian to administer employee vision and life insurance benefits?
Motion approved.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry,
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yes.
Is there a motion to reappoint Sharon Alexander, Art Faulkner, Harris Garner, Rhett Smith, and John Strickland to the Elmore County Industrial Development Authority Board?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry,
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve fiscal year 2019 Homeland Security Cooperative Grant Agreements, including budget amendments, and authorize chairman to execute?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry,
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yes.
Personnel notifications. Notification of resignation of Darrell Eldridge, Engineer Tech, effective 12/5/19. Notification of resignation of Lisa Henderson, Dispatcher Tier 1, effective 11/25/19. Notification of hire of Holly Bruns, Dispatcher Tier 1, replace L. Henderson, effective 12/9/19. Notification of hire of Nathan Mayberry, IT Specialist, fill vacant position, effective 12/9/19. Notification of resignation, Mark Jarrett, Corrections Officer, effective 12/3/19. Any additional reports? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry,
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer,
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yes.
We are adjourned.